Hello and welcome to another episode of Redesigning Your Relationship podcast. I'm your host, Giovanna Burgess-White, with my co-host,
Yvette Valdenegro. Welcome.
We're so excited today because we have three amazing guests. If you remember them from season 1, episode 2, we had Sara, Kelly, and Lisa on, and they're going to be back on today talking about their new journey, their new chapter, also a new podcast that they just launched today. And we're just going to ask them some questions. We're going to talk about their podcast and also their relationship from when they started to where they are now. So without further ado,
let's bring them on because this is going to be good.
Yes. Welcome, ladies.
Yay. Okay, to see you.
Yes, you guys.
So much has been going on since we last talked, and I can only anticipate this is going to be a power pack, very full minutes worth of amazement. So let's just really dive in. So let's just kind of recap on what's been going on since we last talked. Just a quick blur, but what's gotten you to this point right now since we last talked?
Well, I guess I'll start. So we were on, like Gio said, back in November, we kind of launched this guesting, and we thought, let's do a podcast. And we originally were thinking, because we were all in direct sales and we had met in Nashville, that we wanted to, just highlight our journey with direct sales and how it, we're doing it differently, and some of the ick that's surrounded just the notion of direct sales. And the more we spent time together, because that's what you're allowing us to be on your podcast, just prompted us to say, let's meet every week. And so that's what we've been doing. We've been meeting every week and evolving, just discussing and trying to figure out what is it? What is the message? What's our mission? What do we want to bring to the listeners? And that has just evolved into something that really is heartfelt and really at the core of what makes each of us tick.
Awesome. So share with us. Oh, go ahead. I was just going to say.
Yeah, and I was just going to say.
Mission. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, it's interesting because even from November, our ideas internally from those meetings they've shifted a few times. So it was definitely not a linear, like, okay, we meet in Nashville in person, we have this connection, we have these common goals and all of these things, and then there we go, we're launching a podcast. It was after we got to know each other more and we started having those weekly meetings, we really kind of dove in a bit more to what we want to share. And it's been really awesome to grow and learn alongside these two ladies. And now having our own podcast is just really amazing to have that platform to share with everybody else too.
That's awesome. Well, obviously we talk a lot about relationships on here. So I think it's incredible that three very dynamic, strong powerhouses can get together and form a common bond, common purpose, common strength to bring everybody. So share with us, what is the absolute mission of the podcast?
Yes. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting, you guys. Thank you for having us. But yeah, we have a huge mission to just help and share our story to other women who may be in corporate, or maybe they're stay-at-home moms. Maybe they feel alone. Maybe they feel like they don't have any burning desires anymore. They're just kind of going through the shoulds of what they may feel like. Maybe they're in their 30s, maybe 40s, 50s, and they feel stuck. And that's where we kind of came up with Wake Up and Dream, because it is time. I feel like, and we've had many conversations that times have changed, and women are exploring more, I think, internally and just dreaming, but they're not allowing themselves to dream even bigger. And then how do they make it happen? Like, they're married, they have kids, or, they've gone through struggles, or they're just not sure where to go. And they've just been, reading books, but getting nowhere, or honestly, even listening to podcasts, but getting nowhere. And like, what are really some of the tools that they can use and implement every single day. And that's kind of where we want to just share our stories and be vulnerable. And that's kind of how it manifested from, we're connected through network marketing and we joined, a coaching program. But then there was more to it. Network marketing is part of our story. And we want to allow our audience to know that story and how we've allowed it to, even though we didn't know where we were going, but having those businesses and creating relationships here, how it may just lead a woman one step closer in a direction they may not have even imagined before. And so we just want to inspire them. We feel like we want to be vulnerable. We want to laugh. We want to cry. We want to share what frustrates us and how we've gotten through it. So I feel like this is a very safe place for our listeners. And I think it's very unique having three of us from different parts of the country, different backgrounds. Our families look different. Our goals for the future even look different. And that's okay. But we just want them to feel welcome to be here and hopefully inspire them to wake up and dream.
Oh my God, I love it. And I want to pause and have everyone just do a quick little intro on who you are, what network marketing or direct sales company kind of brought you here, and then how you've shifted. Because if they go back and listen to your episode from last November, I feel like all three of you guys are in a completely different season. And even though you said network marketing brought you guys together, you guys have grown and really changed the path in what you're doing, not just with the podcast, but in your personal businesses and goals. So Sara, do you want to start first?
Yeah, I mean, Gio, you witnessed live the transformation that happened because I just saw you a couple of weeks ago. I work with doTERRA essential oils. I love my oils. Any oil questions, I'm your girl. Back in November, I was pretty much using doTERRA and my network marketing business as my out, as my escape from a corporate job that I wasn't aligned with. I always liked what I did within the corporate world. My goals were kind of shifting in terms of what I really wanted. And being in this coaching program for the last year with Julie Ciardi, I've allowed myself to dream in a little bit of a different way. And I realized that network marketing didn't have to be my ticket out. I can actually just create something different, do something different, get a new job with a company that aligns more with my values, that is smaller, that I can grow with. And that I actually turned into a reality of last week. So I have a new job. I'm juggling a few different things too, but it's just so interesting how I evolved from November, where I was like, doTERRA is going to be my ticket out. I'm, putting all of everything that I have into that basket. And then I kind of got quiet and realized, why am I forcing something when I should just allow, life to take me where it needs to take me? And this was my next step. So.
Love it. That's amazing. Lisa, you want to share a little bit about your story and where you've been and where you're at?
Sure. So I am a six-figure direct sales marketing leader with a company called Labri Pure and Natural. It's an aloe-based skincare line and clean makeup. And I still have my passion in building lives, building souls, allowing people to dream, but using direct sales as that vehicle to, fuel the income, the passions, all of that. And what I think has evolved for me since November is, one, I feel like I have more clarity around my mission within my company, and confidence in that journey, as well as the coaching piece, because of being all of us in Julie Ciardi's program. Like, I have leveled up what I am able to bring to my team members in coaching them to know what do you want? Like, let's dive deep into that, because when they do get in touch with that, I don't have to motivate them. It's not external motivation anymore. It's them going, oh yeah, I am all about it because I see what my future can be. They start dreaming. So that, in a nutshell, that's the evolution that I've had.
I love it. And Kelly, I mean, all three of you have completely transformed, but your story is just amazing on where you started and where you're going, and the women that you're going to be helping along the way. So you want to share a little bit about what you're doing?
I do. Yes. Thank you. So yeah, my story, I feel like, started, and I didn't even know it was starting, but probably 8.5 years ago, when we were trying for baby number 2, and we tried for 6.5 years. And I have what I guess they call secondary unexplained infertility. So everything on paper looks like I should be having baby number 2, 3, 4, but it wasn't happening. And so I struggled. We struggled. And I went into a deep depression that I didn't know I was in, because I just really wanted to complete our family. I had a vision of what we wanted it to look like, with kids. And we have an amazing 9-year-old, almost 10-year-old little boy, who's amazing. But there was just that disappointment. And then there was the trauma of those desires that were unmet. And so, like I said, I went into this great depression, and just doing all the mommy things that I thought I should do, listening to society of what was next. And then something just hit that I couldn't be like this anymore. I had to find a way to really have joy in my life and have that fulfillment again. And so I was doing kind of the self-development, self-growth journey, and Zaya Active, an amazing direct sales company, came into my life. First of all, because it helped when I changed my activewear and what I was wearing, because I was a stay-at-home mama. It just made me like feel good. So when you look good, you feel good, you do good, and I could feel myself just evolving and changing. And then the business opportunity came about, and I started creating a team, an amazing network of customers who enjoyed it, which then led me to Julie Ciardi and her amazing group. And it just like started evolving. It was something I never expected. But recently, in the last few months, tidbits have been coming into my heart, and I need to start sharing my story. I need to let women who are struggling with infertility, and there's so many different kinds of infertility, and there's so many stories, but from those, there's trauma and there's heartache. And I want to reach those women who I can just kind of hug virtually, and create a relationship and a safe space for them to share their story, and just help them through it, because they might be at a point where they're done. Yeah. They're giving up. It's not going to happen. They need, like I felt, they need to find joy again. And so that's kind of just become my new passion of becoming a infertility coach, and having that impact on women, that there is joy. There is joy after the infertility struggles that they may have endured. So I'm excited to see where that goes and the women that I can help along the way.
Oh, we're excited too. God, so amazing how we started 6 months ago and now we're here. And, we've been able to see this through our platform and Ignite, but it's also time for all three of you to share your purpose, and the podcast, I believe, is where that's going to be. So tell us a little bit about Wake Up and Dream podcast and what your listeners and viewers can expect.
So one of the things we really wanted for our listeners is, Kelly mentioned a little bit earlier about how certain people are looking to podcasts or looking to quotes, but just looking at them or listening and not actually sitting with them or having just giving thought to actually what these quotes or these podcasts are getting at, it's not as effective. So what we really wanted to provide for our listeners is we start off every episode with a quote, and we dive into how that was applied in our lives. So you're actually seeing like the quote at just face value, but then picking it apart a little bit, but in terms that people can relate to. So whether it relates to, Lisa's breast cancer experience or infertility, or just life as a mom, a twin mom, like whatever it may be, we just allow our listeners to get insight into a little bit of our stories and how it relates back to these quotes. And then we also give them, tips on things that they can do to start incorporating different practices into their life as well.
I love how different all those three things you just mentioned, especially for women. You just touched on that, breast cancer, that's your body, wanting to have children, that's like the life that you give. And then being a twin mom, it's like you're pouring into those lives. Those are all such touching, warm, real things. And so I think it's going to be amazing that you not only do you share from just reference but also the courage to bring you to where you are now. I think it's going to be such an amazing encouragement to everybody who listens to you.
So I guess my other question is going to be, there's two of us, so there's three of you. And we know how it is to have a two host podcast. How did you come up with the name? And then what does the relationship look like with three podcasters? Because I don't think I know any podcast that has three podcasters. So tell us a little bit about that relationship.
Well, I'll start us out. So Sara, bless her heart, got quiet, right? Because that's what we're learning in Ignite, to get quiet, and the answers are already there. We just got to get quiet so that we can hear them. And we had been, writing our mission statement, and every week we were trying to wrestle with what is our purpose, right? If we don't know what our purpose is, how can we even have a flow of what we want to bring to our audience? So in that, we had to obviously also find a name. And so we were each getting quiet. We were throwing out different names. Nothing really hit until Sara, she was the brainchild, and she's like, what do you guys think of Wake Up and Dream? Kelly and I were like, yes, that is it.
I think you took some convincing, Lisa.
Oh, I don't think so.
You did, because so now we're gonna say it from my perspective.
Oh, that's so funny,
Lisa. Speaking about the relationships, right, guys? So I said it, and at first they were like, yeah, I guess, like Wake Up and Dream. But then I went into detail, right, Lisa? And I was like, most people think dreaming happens just when you're asleep, but the real magic happens when you wake up and start dreaming. And like, that was kind of what then Lisa and Kelly were like, oh, okay. And then I feel like I hooked you in with that.
Totally hooked us in. But here's the thing, my personality, I gotta marinate with it. So like, sometimes my first impression might have come across differently because I needed to think about it. I needed to like really process it, because I am more of a slow processor. But the minute you said that it was like the real dreams happen when you're awake, I was like, oh, that is what we want to inspire our listeners to start doing.
Yep. I'm like all about it. I listened to your trailer, so I already knew the answer, but I love the name. I love the mission behind. I love dreaming during the day. I love all of that. So tell us about how this is going to work. Like, are you taking a show each week? Are you guys going with the flow? Like, does somebody get to pick the quote? Like, how? Again, we're like yin and yang. So we just ours just kind of flows. But I'm excited to see what the trio.
So yes, actually, yes, and yes. So every week, every Thursday is a new episode. Yes, each of us have picked quotes so far, and each of us kind of moving forward, if one hits us, like Lisa, we recorded one just an hour ago, and she found this quote. She's like, I think this is the one for today. So we all kind of jumped on it, and we're all kind of taking turns leading it, if you will, or if it's something that ties into infertility, then I kind of take the reins a little bit. Or if it's, working in corporate and how Sara has applied that, then that kind of becomes the route, if you will, of the podcast, which is kind of fun because I feel like we're very similar, but very different. And we each have amazing things to bring to the table. Some of us are great at writing. Some of us, are great with the technology part and spreadsheets and ideas and all the fun things. So I felt a little nervous at first because I'm like, how are 3 women going to agree on anything? Like once we get into a podcast, that's fine because we can all have our ideas. But like what we've been working on up to this point has taken a lot of like give and take of, she has a great idea, but it's not quite what I was thinking or hasn't quite spoken to me. But I think because all 3 of us have done like the self-development part and we're allowing ourselves the grace and allowing each other, like we just know that we're all 3 of us are in the same boat. I read a quote just the other day actually about like put yourself in a room of people that are trying to dream big dreams like you are, and the conversation will be different. So I feel like because all 3 of us are on that same journey of becoming bigger and we're made for more and we want to inspire women, that's why we're here. It's not just going through our work week and making a paycheck. Like we really want to make a difference. And I think with the 3 of us keeping that like at the heart of what we're doing, we've always been able to work through or connect with each other or allow someone an idea. And it's just, I feel like has worked out perfectly thus far.
Oh, that's so good.
I'm excited.
Well, and I love the fact, there is a common denominator with all of you, like the process and the relationships and the work that you've been doing, but it goes back to the purpose and the goal. And so relationally with relationships, it's so much easier. You can like kind of rub each other and because the end result is like, no, we're going this way. This is the direction we're going. So even if we're kind of doing this as we go, that the end result is at the end, everyone has the same vision. And it's such a smoother ride than if all 3 of you came together like, well, no, that's my goal. My goal. No, that's never going to, especially 3 strong women, or 2 strong women, that's never going to happen. But when you have the availability to go, you know what? It's not always going to be perfect. It's not always going to look like all peachy, rosy, fun things, but it is what it is. But this is where the direction that we're going. And of course, there's going to be times where, you have to talk about stuff and kind of reroute again. But I love that you guys, the purpose, the goal and everything, and then the self-development side of it, which in any relationship that you encounter, it does begin with you. So the fact that you guys are already on that journey and then you're going to give more of yourselves from that personal journey, it's just awesome. Love it.
And I actually think you hit on something key there too, is within each of those journeys, we're all kind of at a different place, which adds to the conversation because, when we were just talking earlier, we were talking about imagination and things like that. And I'm still pretty early on in using that tool. Whereas, Kelly and Lisa already have tools in place on how to do it. And we're all a work in progress, but it's nice, I think, for our listeners to see that we're not all already at like the finish line. We're all a work in progress and we're all at different phases. So it just allows our listeners to kind of see that view as well.
And I'm going to just point out to our viewers and to our listeners that you guys just met last November for the first time. None of you guys knew anything about podcasting. Okay. So it's like, oh, we're going to just start a podcast. That's how it happens when you're like, oh, we're just going to start a podcast. And so thanks to our podcast manager, we have the same one. Shout out to Haley. It's something that most people will never do because they're like, it's hard. If you're solo, if you're with a co-host, they never put into action. And I just want to say like that you guys did it. You did it so quickly. And you also kind of just said, hey, we don't know what we're doing, but we're going to make it happen. And we know just based up and knowing all 3 of you, how amazing this podcast is going to be. But I also think it's going to inspire other women out there, not only to maybe share their story, but also start dreaming and doing the things that they were like, well, if they can do it, listen, if we can do it for 4 years, anybody can do it. So I hope that that gives somebody out there listening or watching some sort of inspiration, because this is purposeful, and we get to do this every week. You guys get to do this every week. And we know that there's somebody on the other side, either watching or listening, going, thank you. I really needed that, no matter what topic of the day or conversation it is. So I thank you ladies for putting yourselves out there and giving this to other women out there as well.
Yeah. And I love the name Wake Up and Dream. I love it. And I love that, yes, the concept of dreaming is not just when you're asleep, it's you're doing it while you're awake. And then the reverse of that is wake up while you're awake. Because I was doing this. I was going through the motions. I was just like a zombie, almost just clocking in, clocking out, doing all the mundane things. Time just goes by. And then when you do get older, you do, well, I'm older. So you start looking back on life going, I don't want to keep just going on the same track. I do want something different. I do want to live a life that really is my dream. And it can happen. That's what it's like all 5 of us, anybody listening, watching right now can just go, it's real and it can happen. That's just the beauty of it all. No matter where you come from.
Mm-hmm. You know, when you were talking about like the whole idea of wake up and dream, I think that was one of the things that we were talking about, that each of us had a moment, had an experience that woke us up to how short life is, how we want to live, you know, whether me with breast cancer, the journey of infertility, just realizing that it's like a blink and our life is gone. We don't know what tomorrow will hold. And so I do think, like you, Yvette, that so many women in particular, we are just going through the motions of daily existence, and we haven't been woken up. And I don't wish cancer on anybody. I mean, that's what it took for me to wake up, but wake up, like, because life is short, and if you're not happy, you can do something about it. You can take action, you know, you can think differently, you can feel differently. There's so much in that whole wake up piece, that awareness that our life, we're responsible for it, and we want to make it count.
Love it. I just want to do this, everybody. Just wake up. Well, we're going to have everything in the show notes on how to find you, but let's just do a little quick shout out. I think you said every Thursday, correct? You want to let us know where to find you, where to follow you, and I will make sure we have it anywhere that you guys are listening or watching right now. Go. Do your plug.
Okay, I'll go here then.
I love it.
You can follow us on Instagram first and foremost. That's Wake Up and Dream Podcast. So look us up there. Right now, the podcast is live on Apple and Spotify, but we're going to add to other platforms as well. And yeah, we hope that you guys follow us and reach out, message us. I mean, we'll include our personal contact also in the show notes, if that's okay, Gio. So then just reach out, and if one of us resonates, if one of our stories resonates with anybody, send us a message. We would love to chat with you all.
Oh my God, I love it. Well, we so much enjoyed having you on today. We cannot wait to see what's to come in your podcast. Anything else you want to add before we leave, ladies? It was a pleasure having you. No,
nothing. Thank you so much for having us back. It was so amazing. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm
seeing all of you.
I'm gonna have you guys on backstage while we close out, and then we'll reconvene after. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I love having guests on.
Them.
Thank you. I know, especially them. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening in another episode of Redesigning Your Relationship Podcast. If you like the episode, share it, comment, like. If you want to write us a review, we would love it, because there are other people out there looking for creating a relationship that they love and they deserve, redesigning relationships in their life that they didn't know they could. And if there's any topics you want to listen
send
about,
us the topics.
Yes.
And a little plug, we have come up with some pretty fun topics that we think are going to be hot and spicy. There's
Yes.
our little plug in there. So you don't want to miss it because it's hot and spicy.
Yeah. So we have more guests coming up this month, and then we do have some great topics. Hot and spicy
Hot and spicy.
that nobody wants to talk about, but guess what?
We are.
I think the next few episodes may make us go viral, or people are gonna hate us. But anyway, either way, we're talking about it, guys. If you're listening, you're not gonna want to miss out on the next couple episodes. So we will see you next week, every single Friday, with a brand new episode. Thank you all so much.
Bye.
Bye.